Chapter 8. Entering for the first time. Third floor, inside ship. Nightfall, day 1. The sun finished setting in the west. This room I was in looked like a big boardroom. There were some whiteboards that were filled with information maybe a year ago when the storm must have hit and everything went bad. I remember it well just before the power went out. It looks like the crew officers had recorded everything that everyone knew from the night of the event. It looked like they lost communications with everyone on the mainland. Then they were able to restore temporary emergency communication. The notes chronicled in the normal every other day protest about whatever that nobody even paid attention to anymore, but the storm had brought a new urgency and everyone had rushed to clean out the stores again, which was another new normal. According to the notes on the wall, the eggs, bread, and milk went first. This was commonly known as the French toast system, along with toilet tissue paper. From there, all the potato chips, because people were freaking stupid. Once people saw that the eggs, bread, milk, toilet paper, and potato chips are gone, they usually check everything else. By then, all of the smart people that got off work early cleaned off the other shelves when the less situationally aware weren't paying attention. The canned food and water bottles were already gone, thanks to the savvier folks, even though those people were most likely fine, but hey, why not make one last run? Meanwhile, the oblivious, trying to do all the normal shopping, stood in awe, or didn't notice at all. If anyone had been smart, they would go get some of the ladies' hygiene products. Even if it's not exactly the right product, would have been better than having to go out later. So then the lines were getting longer as the last of the food was getting scooped up and people were getting mobbed on their way out. More pictures and notes indicating people were getting more upset. The protests that had been going and sort of morphed together. Things kept getting more violent and worse. A common misconception was that the military can magically appear out of nowhere to maintain order. Reality is, it takes the governor approval, then roughly 72 hours for the National Guard to mobilize after activation. In this case, law enforcement was easily overwhelmed by over 10,000 people taking to the streets and had to pull back to consolidate, and then the power just shut off that night in the middle of the violent protests and storm. By that point, it was too late to get meds, the food was gone, and everybody went home. Everybody dependent on meds was screwed because the pharmaceutical companies don't care about anyone needing more than a month out. Most pharmacies are on demand anyway, if that now. Reading all this reminded me. The first couple months after the collapse were very upsetting. People slowly running out of their meds that they depended on, passing on from otherwise easily maintained conditions or slipping into madness, which also reminded me. I wonder if the ship had any meds on it that we could restock with. We'd been able to augment our standard prescription antibiotics with fish medicine supplements and making new variants from scratch, but it was a challenge. The problem is shelf life isn't too good. Maybe I would even find some epinephrine. That was basically the name for adrenaline, which was good for all sorts of things. I would also need to make sure I looked for a medical bay while I was here. I wonder where that was. I realized I couldn't really see the whiteboard to follow their notes anymore. It was making my mind wander and I was getting dizzier. I decided this was a good time to have a snack and take some meclizine, which was a good motion sickness medicine that worked well for me. I had stored tins of it leading into the collapse because it was cheap, plentiful, and lasted a long time. Also, my eyes were really straining, and I realized I still had my sunglasses on from the day. Besides it getting dark from the sun almost completely setting, that's why I couldn't see the whiteboard. I hadn't changed my glasses outside like I usually would have because there hadn't been any tables to set anything down and I was in a hurry. I had a feeling that the guy I'd seen earlier was going to go hide somewhere and evaluate his options. It worked out, I reconciled to myself. I wasn't worried about whoever was in here much. I wasn't ready for a ready meal yet. I went to the conference room table and set my bag down. The first thing I did was switch my sunglasses for my normal glasses, then blink a few times. So much better. I imagine I'd probably look like the anti-hero that could see in the darkness or something. I used to wear my wraparound sunglasses from sunup to sundown to live in near complete darkness. This was because of my migraines, but had to suffer near unlimited social ridicule because of it. I couldn't go anywhere without the store owners harassing me, and eventually had to take them off. Eventually I started going without and dealing with it and the constant pain. My contractor cap had helped a bit, but then I got guff for that too. Eventually got new glasses, but they were so comically large that my hat could no longer cover my eyes. Thanks, stupid hipster fashion trends, for making my desired frames no longer available. Now, with the collapse, I'd gone back to wearing my sunglasses everywhere again and forgot to take them off except for after nightfall. It was an old pair, but it's all I had. New sunglasses cost a fortune pre-collapse and now no longer existed. So, it was time to let my night vision take over. I had my giant glasses on now and my vision sharpened. I started digging through my bag and found some jerky and got out a water bottle as I listened for sound. There was none except for the wonderful white noise of ocean outside. I found the jerky and water bottle and took a bite of jerky which tasted like mesquite. It was smoky and delicious. I took a drink of water and realized I hadn't had any water in a while. I drank half the bottle before I realized I need to stop and dig around for my meclizine. I thought for a second before I dug too much and remembered it was in a side pocket. I thought for a second to take 25 milligrams or 50 and decided to go ahead and just take 50 now since I was on a boat and all. I figured I'd be able to clear the boat and deal with Mr. Shadow Man and time to take a nap. I took the 50 milligrams of meclizine and another bite of jerky, then I finished my bottle and put it back in my bag. I took out another bottle and put it in my pocket and put the jerky in another pocket. I would snack on this as I went, since it might be an hour or so until I was ready to settle down for a ready meal. Then I took my secondary flashlight and did the neat little trick with it that I learned. My flashlight had a hinge where it could bend at a 90-degree angle and then had a quarter power button. Then it had a clip where it could attach to the molly webbing on the front of my armor carrier. I figured I didn't want this guy to be scared of me like I was searching and destroying him, so I would put my AR down and instead would have my flashlight going at all times. That way he would be well aware of my actions. I imagine this yacht had a security system. Even if I couldn't see the cameras, and if I was him, that's where I would have retreated to, so being all tactical and checking corners and flicking my light wouldn't really help me. I was in his domain now, and I would be abundantly clear about my actions and hopefully gain his trust a little bit. So I set up the flashlight proper. It was a rechargeable and had about 20 hours of light in this configuration. Had a USB charger and I had my solar USB pack cords and adapters with me. This meant I could keep it charged for literally hundreds of hours if needed. Ideally, or life-saving flashlights wouldn't be rechargeable due to the weakness and fragility of rechargeable batteries, but I had other batteries that run on lithium which were more robust. This meant I didn't mind having rechargeables as well. So I did a scan of the room with my AR hanging, with my flashlight clipped and pointing it ahead, and put my backpack on. Then I took another bite of my jerky and another swig of my water bottle, and away I planned to go. I checked my phone for a second, and it was 9 p.m. I never switched my phone to military time or anything like that unless someone whined about it. No new messages or emails, of course, just my old emails I'd never deleted. I read them from time to time. I had some emails saved on here from my dad and from a friend that had suddenly passed away. I also had pictures of my dad who I missed so dearly. I almost purged these emails so many times, worried someone might get my phone, but now it's all I had. I didn't have time to look at any of it now. I just like checking my phone out of habit. It's always in airplane mode, and hey, actually that gave me an idea. I activated the Wi-Fi feature on my phone for a minute on a hunch. The feature activated immediately and thought about the situation for around 10 seconds. There showed up a lone signal which was weak and simply called Prototype 1. It flickered on and off a few times then shut off entirely. I thought that was strange. I shut the feature back off to conserve my phone's battery life even though I had my reserve pack and decided to make a mental note to myself to check it again later as I got deeper into the ship.